Federal government approves 40 billion naira for roads, maintenance and emergency repairs. Aggregate foreign exchange inflow into the economy falls by 30.4%. All gains after 2 days of losses, although markets still quiet with investors in holiday mood. And as Africa anxiously await the takeoff of a single market, how prepared is the transport sector? Our guest on the discussion segment will be giving us answers to that. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. And I am Leakatun Babatunde. Over 40 billion naira is to be expended by the federal government on the completion, general maintenance and emergency repairs of some critical roads infrastructure across the country. The Federal Executive Council, which gave the approval at its last meeting for the year 2020, also took major decisions towards improving the supply of power and water for enhanced standard of living in benefiting communities.
One is the maintenance of Ikotekpene-Itu Road in Cross River State, repair and maintenance of Onitsha-Aguleri Adani Road, the general maintenance of Nasarawa Toto Abaji Road, general maintenance of Ukene Adogo Ajaokuta Itobe Road in Kogi State, the construction of Aden Bridge between Okada and Ogbogui Abangbe Spur to Benin-Shagamu Road, general maintenance repairs of Potiskum Fika Ngada Gombe Road.
It is the contract for Abuja because it's the one that links that huge expanse that we call the Central Business District, spanning from Moshood Abiola Stadium right through to the National Assembly. You know, and on one side of the road is the Constitution Avenue, the other one is the Independence Avenue.
One is the revised estimated total cost of the contract of the construction of infrastructure at the National Power Training Institute of Nigeria permanent site here in Abuja. The total cost is 88.046 million.
The Federal Executive Council also approved the extension of contract time for consultancy services in respect of the management and supervision of the ongoing construction of the Zungeru Power Project in Niger State at 4.7 billion naira. Now, aggregate forex inflow to the economy crumbled by 30.4% to $30.83 billion in the third quarter of 2020 compared to the same period of 2019. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in its third quarter economic report revealed the aggregate forex inflow declined modestly by 2.2% to $21.95 billion quarter-on-quarter. Forex outflow from the economy declined by 57.3% to $7.7 billion in the quarter as compared to the corresponding quarter of 2019. The trend resulted from a slump in the outflow through the CBN and independent sources for the greater part of Q3 2020. The CBN attributed the break in economic activities to weaker demand for foreign exchange. Now, ahead of the commencement of the African Continental Free Trade Area come January 1st, 2021, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Adeniyi Adebayo has called on Nigerians to take advantage of the inherent opportunities to promote made in Nigeria goods. A statement from the Office of the Special Assistant on Media to the Minister, Ifedayo Shayo, said Nigeria must play a leading role in a market that will form a $3.4 trillion economic bloc. He added that the ministry is set to commence a major communication campaign all through the month of January to create awareness on the AFCFTA across the 6 geopolitical zones established on May 30, 2018. The agreement has been signed by African Union member countries and ratified by 34 member countries, including Nigeria. The AFCFTA is expected to help expand Nigeria's trade portfolio, boost competitiveness, and increase the nation's and continental GDP. Now, the AFCFTA, which will take off a few days from now, is expected to boost African trade, particularly intra-regional trade in manufacturing. Based on an analysis carried out by the IMF, by 2035, the volume of intra-continental exports is expected to increase by an average of 81%. The transport sector is key to achieving this. With respect to the security threats existing in Nigeria and other parts of Africa, is the transport sector positioned to handle the hurdles? Now joining me virtually is Fumi Folorunshaw, AFCFTA champion for the private sector of the transportation sector. She's also the Secretary General African Ship Owners Association. It's a pleasure to have you on the program this morning, Fumi.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Great. Now, government has been sounding its preparedness for the takeoff of the AFCFTA. How prepared is the private sector?
We are very prepared. We are very excited. We can see a future, a game changer in the next few days. We are prepared. We could be better prepared, but as at this moment, we are prepared for 1st of January.
Okay, great. Now, how also would you describe the role of transport, and now how critical is your sector to the success of the AFCFTA?
Thank you. You will recall that in the last few minutes, you did mention an IMF report,
True.
an 81% surge in trade, intra-African trade. Let's put that into perspective. 81% growth requires transportation, whether of persons, cargo, goods, and whatever. I had a discussion with somebody yesterday. We seem to be competing with information technology, but transportation is key in the growth, development, sustenance of the African Free Trade Area.
Okay, so the second wave of coronavirus, in fact, no one thought it was going to happen, but it is now here with us. Is this in any way affecting the preparedness and eventual takeoff of this single market for your sector?
I'll take maritime, for example. Whilst we were all locked down, ships were moving, cargo was moving, the medical supplies was moving, people were moving, containers were coming in, the economic regulator was working. It may affect crew change, but that has been handled, but it is not going to substantially affect, because if maritime, for example, if the ships stop moving, then there is going to be a problem of movement of essentials, food, medicals, and whatever. So give or take, if you look at the first wave that we had, like I said, we were all locked in, but the ships were moving and the ports were working.
So, what sort of knowledge sharing do you have? Because transporters in Nigeria are hoping to fully participate in this giant market come 2021. But given the security threats in the country and other parts of the Sahel, now what do you think needs to be done, probably by government and players in the private sector, to handle this situation? And at least let's get some safe corridors.
Thank you very much. The security issues are being worked at. You would notice that NEMASA and every government agency is working at security issues, piracy that we have. But the security issues that we have are in Nigeria land-based. They are not maritime-based. And the ones that are maritime-based are being handled right now with all of the security programs that is being put up by the Honorable Minister of Transportation and his agencies and the agencies of government. Now, in terms of preparedness by Nigerian maritime or Nigerian transporters, let's put it this way. Nigeria now has a larger market in Africa. Some of the goods and services that we required and would go through Europe is going to be coming from Africa. Level of preparedness, we must take the next few days to really say to ourselves, this is a new horizon. This is a better horizon. COVID, as far as I am concerned, has not come to stay, but we do have protocols. We are all working. I am working with you, aren't I? And we're going to be working. The ships are still coming in. The ships will still move. You don't park ships. You don't park ships. You don't park cargo on board and leave it there. It still has to move. So for Nigerian transporters, we've got to come together. We've got to move, because this could be another major break in what we've been looking for.
Okay, now in recent time, we saw governments across the states of the Federation give a sort of palliative for those in the transport sector. Have you been able to gauge the trickle-down effect, and would you say that it has impacted those in the industry?
IMO has declared cruise ships essential services. Let us look at a situation where we're not able to get even the vaccines. When the airports were shut, the ships were moving. When you couldn't come in by planes or road, the ships were moving. Therefore, the palliatives, good. But we could do with more, because we have now become a worldwide, an essential service. Therefore, for me, champion, I would say it's not palliatives only. It is to look at the transport sector as an essential service, as a key service for this country going ahead 2021.
Okay, so before I let you go, ma'am, what do you expect to see come January 1, 2021?
An increase in vessel ownership in Nigeria. It is key. We're now going to have more trade. Ships are a function of trade. What we now have is trade within Africa. And therefore, the first thing I expect to happen is there will be more vessel owners in Nigeria participating in African trade. There would be more use of Nigerian flagged vessels in other African countries. And there might be a little bit of other African flagged vessels coming into Nigeria.
Okay, just shortly now, in one sentence, what does it mean to see the Nigerian flag on vessels berthing in other countries?
Wow. First and foremost, income. When you berth, when I take my vessels out of this country, what do I earn? Income. Therefore, employment, increase in employment, increase in revenue, increase in remittances from these vessels, optimal use of our vessels, and the ripple effect is enormous. I wish we had time to look at the ripple effects, but I hope that sometime I'll be able to come back and give you what, in terms of figures, what
Okay,
we will
great.
see.
So we're going to create that window for you to come back and give us that window you just talked about. Thank you. I've been speaking with Funmi Folorunsho, and of course, she is AFCFTA champion for the private sector, particularly transport. Thank you for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Great. And so from the bank to the fashion industry, this is the story of a young entrepreneur who believes being her own boss will change her life for the better. Now over to Buster Abel, who had a one-on-one chat with her on surviving COVID-19.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
I'm into business of selling materials, different types of materials like the telsius, some popularly known as senator wears, Ankara, the ashwebis, depending on what you want for your wedding or your party.
Ifeoluwa Esther Oyemi has had stint with a white-collar job before the recent decision to dump her career for the pursuit of self-employment propelled by the COVID-19 lockdown.
The turnout for demand was actually low during COVID-19. Everyone was just striving to meet ends meet. We were less bothered about buying of clothes as at that time. And if you know, during those periods, people that were doing wedding was just on a low key. So it was just a family wedding. So it turned out for many in Agbada, ladies in wardrobe, ladies in Ankara, everything was just too low during those periods.
Coronavirus is the biggest challenge for businesses around the globe this year, birthing the need for new survival strategies.
It was just too poor. It was very hard surviving during that period. Right, because there were no demands. There were no demands. What people were actually going for was what to eat, not what to wear. Of course, you still have some people that whether the economy is fluctuating or not fluctuating, they are still balanced. So during those periods, well, I was able to reach out to more in the sense that I just stay indoor or stick to being online. You know, I have to start talking to people one-on-one. People like passing through the street. I can just see somebody driving a jeep and just say, "Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I sell material." The man will just look at me and like, "That's so weird." Said, "But that's what I do, sir." I'm like, "Okay, where is your shop?" I just mentioned Arab. So since you are close, we always get your contact, we exchange contact, and later on they get back to me. So far, so good. I'll say it's much better than the lockdown time, because right now the demand for materials are, let me say, a bit more. It was as if they said, if you don't get married this year, next year is not for you. So the rate at which people just come in and say, "Okay, if Ashwabi, we want to do men in Agbada, we want to do this one, what can you do?" Then you see people saying they want a style, particular style, like, "Okay, can you get the materials for this style?" For those that are not doing Ashwabi or people that are not getting married, like, "What if I have a party to attend? What do you think I can wear? How can I rock this party?" Then I make suggestions for them.
For Ifeoluwa, COVID-19 lockdown was an eye-opener to venture into various terrain, all with a view to satisfying her clients. Bosude Abel, Business Express.
The Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission has commended the management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) for what it describes as its openness and sustained progress towards accountability and meeting of its obligations to the Federation in spite of the challenges posed by the coronavirus pandemic. Lydia Sampson reports.
Chairman of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, Elias Mbam, gave the commendation during a visit by the Group Managing Director of NNPC, Mele Kyari, to the organization. The purpose of the meeting is for both organizations to share information, look at challenges, and provide solutions that will enable the oil and gas sector yield more revenue to the Federation account.
We have had a lot of challenges this year, from COVID to NSAS, and so on and so forth. And I'm happy that despite all these challenges, they are still able to meet most of their expectations from their sector.
On his part, NNPC boss said there was need for NNPC and Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission with other relevant government institutions to work together to tackle challenges facing the nation's oil and gas industry with a view to boosting revenue from the sector. Mele Kyari said the unprecedented successes recorded by the NNPC were as a result of the trust and confidence reposed on the current management of the corporation by the federal government.
Despite all the information that you see in the media, but the reality is that oil will continue to be relevant in the scheme of things. But no country, including our own, can survive the next 20 to 30 years of oil production if you don't produce oil at the least cost.
He reiterated that NNPC hit 2.4 million barrels per day production level in April this year, a feat which has not been achieved in the last 10 years. He disclosed that the current global reality of energy transition has proved gas resources to be more viable as a revenue earner for the nation. In Abuja, Lydia Samson.
Now, oil climbed for a second day on Thursday in light holiday trade as a drawback in U.S. stockpiles of crude and gasoline raised demand hopes. Brent crude futures rose 38 cents or 0.7% to $0.58 a barrel this morning, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures increased 0.6% to $48.43. Both contracts gained more than 2% on Wednesday. Analysts say lower U.S. inventories of crude and fuels, as well as signs of a potential Brexit deal, which led to weaker U.S. dollar, were good news. South American soybeans continues to rally as an Argentine labor strike slowed exports. Wheat and corn followed soybeans rally Wednesday as Christmas approaches. Let's see the prices globally. Now, investors in the Nigerian equities market have been smiling to the bank thanks to 6 stocks that have been driving traffic upwards. The investors gained 475.69 billion naira yesterday as the NSE All-Share Index inched up by 2.4% to close at 38,803.74 basis points. And today is the last trading day for stocks in the Nigerian market this week. In Asian stocks, and of course, the British pound rose on Thursday ahead of Christmas as Britain and the European Union closed in on a free trade deal, and investors placed bets on global economic recovery bets. Bosde Abel has a summary of market activities.
European stocks are set to open higher in a light trading session as traders grew optimistic a Brexit trade deal would be reached. FTSE 100 is seen climbing 38 points to 6,530, and France's CAC 40 up 15 points at 5,552. The German and Italian markets are closed for Christmas Eve. Stocks in Asia Pacific were mostly higher on Thursday, with shares of Chinese tech giant Alibaba in the spotlight following reports that Chinese regulators will be probed for suspected monopolistic behavior. It was mostly positive for most African stocks that were opened, with South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia's overall index posting gains. Bosde Abel, Business Express.
And before we go, let's see the exchange rate in the currency market. And of course, with that, we end this edition of Business Express. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is NTA News Now, and don't forget to use the hashtag. It is BizX. Business Express returns tomorrow 3 p.m. I am Leah Katung Babatunde, wishing you the very best of Christmas.